Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Buhmann. I'm a librarian at Skokie Public Library, and welcome. This is the first in a series of 4 workshops for navigating the job search. The program will take approximately 45 minutes or so. I have a lot of information, so I will get right to it. I'm going to share my screen right now. Once again, if you have any questions, please leave them in chat, and Lina will get to them, and maybe we can either cover them afterwards or cover them within the program itself. So a little background on myself. I've been at the library for about 22 years or so. One of the jobs I do at the library is organizing job search materials and helping people with job searching today. We've been doing that for a number of years, and actually libraries are doing that more and more. So if you have any issues regarding your job search and need help, you may want to contact your local library, or you can contact our library, Skokie Public Library, even if you don't live in the area, and we'll try and help you. We also have like career assistants, and other libraries have that as well that you can meet with. They'll help with the resume. You can talk about your job search in general as well. So I think that's very helpful to have someone on your side, one person. So let's get started. So my program is on looking for a job today. So things are a little different today. Hopefully everybody can see the screen. So just chat if you have any issues with anything regarding the program, my sound or anything. This is a weird period to be looking for a job. There's a lot of issues to consider. When's this pandemic going to end? How is it affecting job searching? Is the economy going to bounce back? Is it going to just be back like it was a year ago? Who knows? Are some industries going to disappear? New industries, are they going to pop up? Is your job search going to have to change? And how do you prepare for the unknown that's coming up? I think it's probably best to just be flexible and be prepared for a change. And even if you have a job now, you may want to get prepped to find something else. The good news is that what I'm finding is people are finding jobs. So it may take a little longer. They may have to modify what they're looking for, but they tend to be finding stuff. These are some things that I've noticed or I've read about. There's more work from home opportunities, both partial and full-time. I know at the library myself, where I work, I'm working from home quite a lot right now. And it's an adjustment I had to make. I actually kind of enjoy it because I have a very long commute, so that's nice. And employers are offering a lot more flexible work hours. And that means when you are commuting, there's fewer people on the road, which I find nice as well. There's a lot of new workplace tools like Zoom that you're using now, a lot of software and different methods of working. We have different types of meetings now that I'm going to that I never went to before. Sometimes they'll just be chat meetings where you're all sharing a document and sort of working off a document. So things like that are occurring a lot more often. So it's a good idea, I think, to be prepped for that if you're getting back into like an office job or something like that. And then gig work, everything was going towards gig work or, kind of contracting work, doing short-term projects and things like that. I would imagine that's going to continue, and who knows, maybe with a new administration and office now, there may be help regarding that. Maybe companies will be offering that. If they offered something like healthcare, that would certainly ease it, make it easier for people to work in gig jobs, I think. So to conduct a really good job search, I think it's really good to prep for it and understand what it takes to have a good job search. And these 3 websites have online guides to the job search. And I'll be talking a lot about the first one, careeronestop.org. I think it's the best. It's just an incredible website. It has a lot of information on all different aspects of the job search, and I'll talk more about that later. Next up, the Balanced Careers is another website, and jobhunt.org. This is Career One Stop. This is what it looks like, the basic page, and they have a good prep for just finding a job. There's a whole different, you'll see at the bottom, it says plan your job search over here. And it's good. It'll step you through every facet of a job search, including getting your resume together, interviewing, finding employers, finding certain positions, learning about the different positions, getting trained, the type of training you might need for various positions. Once again, I will talk about that in a little bit as well. This is the Balance Careers, and the Balance is a regular website, but they have a separate career section. So, and this is put together by a longtime career expert called Allison Doyle. And she has a lot of great information on here, including sample resumes, interviewing questions, sample interviewing questions, and how to answer them. She also has this how to get your dream job in 30 days. So it's 30 separate articles, and you can follow, each day you can read one article and follow what she says and recommends to do. And ideally, you would get a job in 30 days if it worked, but everybody's different, of course. And then this is jobhunt.org. Don't forget that little dash there. So, and this just has a lot of good information as well on job searching. This is their main page. You'll see there's a guide to LinkedIn job searching. This is a guide to a shorter and smarter job search as well. So just a good idea to stay informed. And then another important thing is to be organized. I think it just streamlines things and helps you in all aspects of the job search. So if you can develop a plan and then set long-term and daily goals, and that can be really helpful. At the library, at the Skokie Library, we have it's called a Job Talk group. And we encourage people to join and share ideas with other people. And also at the end of the group, each daily session, we have a part where we try and set goals that you achieve for the next year. It sort of motivates people to achieve goals and keep making steps forward in their job search. And also to get support from other people as well is really helpful. So if you can, you're always welcome to attend that group, which usually takes place on Thursday at 3. So right now, so we're not having it this week, but we will when these series of lectures are over. So so please, you're welcome to attend and get help with motivation, stuff like that. Then making lists and then prioritizing tasks. I find that to always be helpful. When I make a list every day and follow the list, and I get a big thrill out of checking off the little things that I've done. That to me itself is motivating. Then it's important to go through and emphasize the tasks that have the highest rewards. And in a job search, I'm always talking to people saying, I applied for 10 jobs last week and I didn't hear back from any of them. So, that might not be the best place to put all your emphasis, is it just applying blindly to job ads. It might be more important for you to set little networking goals. And though networking, you don't get results immediately, in the long term, I think it's much more beneficial. Then you might want to think about organizing your passwords. I've helped a number of people, and they go on to different websites and they're applying for jobs, and most of the jobs require you to register and fill out, have a password and everything. And sometimes they'll spend like 10, 15 minutes trying to find their password. It just, it's nice just to be a little bit more organized and have that down, and it gives you a good mindset as well. And you might want to consider using a password organizer like LastPass, and it'll save all your passwords for you, and it's much safer as well. So it's kind of an aside, but these are some tools I think are really helpful for job searching. Remember, the Milk is just an app that allows you to create lists. And there's a lot of apps out there, but remember, the Milk is one that I've used, and I'll show you that quickly after this. But it's just real basic and helpful. You can also just use a pad of paper and a pen. Then Jibber is a website for organizes a career search in general. I will show you that as well. And then I think having a separate email for job searching is important too, so you can just monitor the emails that are coming in related to your job search. And Gmail is a nice place because it has a lot of tools in the same place. So I think that might be helpful. This is Remember the Milk. This is what it looks like. It's an app and a website, so you can go through it on your web page or you can access it on your phone. And it just allows you to create and prioritize different tasks tasks, as I mentioned, and then just check them off as you do them. This is Jibber Jobber, crazy name, but it'll saves different things like your networking contacts, target companies you might have. It has a little log up here where you can keep track of all the jobs you've applied for. I mean, you can do this on your own as well, but it's kind of nice to just see it in one place. They do charge for an updated account, but you can get some of this basic stuff for free. Another cool aspect of Jibber Jobber is they have this interview prep section. And I really like this because it has these different things like me in 30 seconds here. And that's like your elevator speech, which is something really good to have and be prepped, especially when you're networking, so you can tell someone where you're headed in your job search. They have something for power statements. They can give you examples of different power statements that you can put together to help you get motivated. Questions and answers for your interviewing. You can store them here, go back and review them as you maybe updated your background and stuff like that. So you'll all be prepped for an interview and when you network with people as well. So that's Jibber Jobber. And then I mentioned just Gmail as well, but in Gmail, it's good to have, this is a, Google Docs here, and which is like Microsoft Word essentially. And they have formats for resumes. So even if you have a resume, you can go in here and format it. They have a number of different formats that they have that you might want to try out, and you can add your information into these. And then it's stored right along where your email is as well. So it's really easy to attach it. Part of this Google network is there's sheets, slides. Slides is like PowerPoint that I'm using here. There's a calendar. There's a drive to store data in it. You become part of the Google universe when you use this, of course. But a lot of companies are using this now. In the library, we use Microsoft Word applications, but we also use a lot of these Google applications as well because it's really easy to do this from home and to share it with other people. So it might be worthwhile just to learn this as well for your job search because you might be using it in the future. And these are sort of, I have a few steps of my own, which I think are basic for a job search. Okay, so why not follow a job path that's good for you? That's what I was going, that's where I was headed. So evaluate, maybe take some time off, evaluate your skills, your experience. What do you like to do? Where do you really want to be headed? You know, instead of just getting any job that's out there, maybe you can use this time to sort of set a career path for yourself. What are your priorities, personal and professional? Where do you want to work, the salary range that you want, the type of prestige in a job, and then choose a direction and then try and follow through on that for a while. There's a lot of people who come in and say, I'm willing to take any job out there. I just want to work and make some money. But sometimes it's good to really focus. I think when you talk to people, when you're out networking, if you have a specific path that you want to head in, it's easier for them to help you. And it also sort of, when you're focused, I think it sort of helps motivate you as well. Once again, I mentioned Career One Stop, and when you evaluate your background, you may want to stop here. They have good guides for maybe assessing who you are, little self-assessment tools here. I'm not really sold on some of these things, sort of evaluating, the interests and likes and stuff like that. But it might spur you to give you some different ideas and think of some skills that might be helpful for you or that might appeal to you as well. Once again, Career One Stop's a good place to go as well. And then when you sort of have a direction, then maybe research the career fields, different industries that are out there, and various companies that work in these industries and companies that you might want to work with for. Once again, Career One Stop has a lot of information on various career fields. Also check organizations and associations. As a librarian, that's the first place I would go if I were looking for a job, checking out various organizations and associations. And then networking with people, both face-to-face. Of course, nowadays it's tough to do face-to-face interviewing, but I know when I'm going out for walks all the time today, and I'm meeting my neighbors much more than I ever have before. And that's a form of networking as well, just talking with them and sharing that I'm looking for a job and stuff. And then online is perfect for networking. And then select 1 or 2 industries or professions to focus on. Once again, I think it's good to be focused on something. It helps other people help you. And once again, I'm going back to Career One Stop again, and I mentioned the 1,000 professions in here, and here's just one on librarians they have. So they have a description of the various things that a librarian does. They even have a little video here. They have a job outlook, projected employment. And then if you keep scrolling down on this page, there's similar professions. So maybe you could look up your current profession and branch off into different areas and go that way. Different training that you might need, organizations associated with that profession. So it's cool. You want to go forward in a different way. Okay, being educated and training. If you're out of a job, it might be a good time to sort of work on your skill base. Even if you have a job, it might be good to work on your skill base. Develop new skills. As I mentioned, the new software that's out there that other people are using or other companies are using now, people staying home a lot. It might be worthwhile to get a certification in something. But I even think if you just take a class, you can just put it on your resume that you're training in certain areas and stuff. So certification might not be necessary, but in some fields like tech, it can certainly be helpful. You may want to check at local libraries. We have a lot of tools, and libraries in general have tools that can help you get trained. We have lynda.com, which has tech training in all different fields. Everything like LinkedIn, any sort of Microsoft Word program, things like that. So you could take a look at that, and it's free to access it through your library. So you can look at that. Video courses is something else we have, which has more general courses as well. You can check, once again, careeronestop.org for education ideas for the different career fields. And within there, too, there's federal sources for funding, too, if you want to get trained. There is some federal money to help you get trained, depending on your current profession and where you're headed. So you can take a look at that. And last, you might want to take an online college course or a MOOC. So those are out there. I was thinking at one time, maybe I could go into forestry or something like that. What's that about? Because my wife is from Oregon. There's a lot of foresters out there. And I checked MOOCs, and there were courses that you could take on forestry. So you could sort of get a background on what that would be like without actually quitting my job and committing myself to that as well. This is the Skokie Library page where we have our online training and tutorials section. If you have a Skokie Library card, you can go here and use this. You'll see lynda.com and treehouse.com to learn. And libraries themselves will have their own pages, your current library. If you don't have a library card, I would need that to access these things. So check your library and get your library card. I mentioned MOOCs. These are online courses that you can audit for free. And these are 3 websites that sort of collect the different courses from the various colleges. You can take a look at this, maybe check out something, maybe you want to check out accounting or something. There's some accounting courses here, so take a look. The next step in my focused job search is putting your marketing material together. By marketing material, I mean your resume and cover letter. I think it's a good idea to have a core resume. I mean, every resume you send out, I think, should be customized to the specific job that you're going for to make you a perfect fit for it. So that's what I mean by core resume. It's like a basic resume that you must have. And then when you apply for a job, you always modify it to make it fit what they're asking for. So when you're responding, as I mentioned, you're perfect. And then you can create a list of bullet points that you can pull in and out of these resumes, right, to make them look better. The next program we have is going going to go all through developing marketing material. So I won't spend a lot of time on my ideas regarding this, but there's a lot of resources to help you get your resume together. Also, we have online help as well, one-on-one help that you can use either at our library or your local library. A lot of them have that as well. It's important to update your online presence, your LinkedIn profile. When you apply for a job and you're under consideration, someone's going to Google you to see what's out there. And when you create a LinkedIn profile, you know, you're sort of controlling what's presented online about yourself. So it's a good idea if you're not into LinkedIn to at least have a profile, LinkedIn profile. I think is helpful. So organize and contact your references. You know, I've been a reference for a number of people, and sometimes out of the blue, I'll just get a call from an employer saying that this person is applying for a job, and this person never contacted me. And it's kind of, you know, it's not good. It's not good for when you're responding for the person responding, because, you know, you might not remember everything about that person. So get in touch with your references, make sure they're on board with your. Then I mentioned an elevator speech before, but work on that, and that's helpful when you're networking. I like to think it's marketing yourself. You know, it fluently comes off your tongue when you're talking to somebody. It makes you seem like you know what you're doing, or you're headed in the right direction. So work on that as well. Next step of a job search are finding openings and target companies. You know, you can go out there and check for job postings that are out there. I'll talk about various sites that I think are worthwhile checking. Another thing you might want to consider is targeting specific companies. So what are the companies you want to work for? And then just focus on them. Maybe network with people who work there. A lot of jobs are sometimes only broadcast in-house before you know, a job is posted regarding that. So some of these jobs aren't even won't even be posted. So if you can tap into that, I'll talk a little bit about that, about networking. So that can be helpful. But you can also create lists of different businesses as well using a business directory. And your library, your local library will have these business directories that you can use to create lists. And I'll show you one. I mentioned library databases, and this is one. It's called Data Axle or Reference USA. It used to be called Reference USA. This is just, you access it using your library card. And I did a quick search here, just looking for companies in Skokie, period. And I came up with 4,200 or 4,196 results of companies just in Skokie. Now, obviously, a lot of these are just one-person companies, but you can limit it using this database to maybe, you know, companies that hire over 50 people or that are in certain industries, and or maybe nonprofits or something like that. And I can just get a list of that, and maybe just research companies that are near where I live, and then target them. You know, that might be helpful for you instead of just waiting for the job listing here. So this is something you can do and play around with. I think it's helpful to start, you know, getting a list of companies and maybe using a geographical search instead of applying for job listings, as I mentioned. You can limit this a whole number of different ways. So not just Skokie, but you can limit a 5-mile radius around your house, for instance. So it's a very powerful tool that way. You might want to go out there. There are a lot of job ads out there. I think it's a good idea, maybe not just respond to job ads, but use them to research positions. So if you're applying for a certain job, customer service job, just go out, type customer service in the job ads, and then see what companies are looking for in that field. And then make sure that you address that in your resume, LinkedIn profile and stuff. So it's a good way just to research what's out there. If you need a job fairly quickly, you may want to add into your job search words like urgently hiring or hiring immediately. And some companies really need people soon, and that might target some of those people. You might be lucky to get a job quickly that way. So that might be something you want to consider. If you're interested in piecemeal work, you can type in the searches work at home or freelance or telecommute, and maybe you'll find some positions that way. As I mentioned before, there are a lot more work at home opportunities now, so you might be able to tap into some of that. Also, there's these sites, Upwork.com, Freelancer, that just focus on these types of positions as well. So you can look at that. And then just check neighborhood businesses, maybe walk or drive around the neighborhood. I mean, I'm seeing more and more that companies will just put something in their window if they need somebody. So it's tricky today with COVID and everything, but you can still find something local. You might be able to tap into something you didn't think of before. These are some of the basic job listing sources. If you are job searching, you probably already know about these. So Indeed.com is a meta site which sort of collects openings from company websites and other job search websites. Simply Hired is another one. They're sort of, you'll find similar jobs in both of them. Google for Jobs, it's sort of hidden within Google. But if you just go into Google and type accounting and then use the word jobs and then put your location, accounting jobs, Chicago, it'll pull up something very similar to Indeed.com. You'll see a lot of the duplicates in all these sites. So, but if you really want to be thorough, you could check all of them. Something you might not have thought of is working for the largest employer in the United States or the federal government. And to find these federal government jobs, you can go to usajobs.gov, take a look. It'll walk you through the whole process of applying for a government job. But federal government jobs tend to be pretty well, they have great benefits. They tend to be very solid jobs. So if that fits in what your background is, and the federal government hires a lot of different fields like accountants, various background jobs. So it might be a place for you to check out. There's a lot in Chicago as well. Craigslist, another source. A lot of smaller companies use it for maybe contract work. Some people have found jobs through Craigslist. And then I talked before about associations and organizations, and as I mentioned before, the library world, that's where I would go to check for jobs. But if there any sort of profession, think of associations or local organizations, and you might be able to find jobs there as well. You might not be able to find other places. For instance, in Google, if I just type in library associations, which is what I did here, provides a list of just a few associations related to libraries, American Library Association, American Association of Law Libraries. So all these things are can be helpful for job searching. And also within the library world, there's an organization called Rails, and Rails is an organization of neighboring libraries. On this site, it just lists all the postings for suburban libraries, and sometimes even expand it out from there. So if I were doing a job search, this is where I would go to find library jobs in this area. And there's associations, organizations like this related to a lot of different jobs. So I recommend if you can try and find something can really help. Okay, networking. Networking really, to me, is the best place to find a job. It lets you tap into the job network, which I mentioned before. A lot of jobs are never even posted. It was written in an article somewhere, estimates say that 60% are never listed. So usually from recommendations from people who work at a job. So it would really be nice to tap into that. And how do you tap into that? Well, by knowing someone who works at a company or can move you into a certain area, networking into that. Employers prefer hiring a known quality, somebody recommended from within. So instead of going through the whole hiring process and then finding someone who doesn't work out, it's nice that they have a little insight on the person. So they're going to be more apt to hire somebody. So as I mentioned, your time is better spent networking than just replying blindly to job ads. You're likely to get a better response and a better job. So spend some time networking instead of just responding to those ads. I think that'll be helpful for you. And then once again, networking occurs every time you meet someone. You know, if you reach out to a friend or a colleague, or as I mentioned before, you're taking a walk around the block, you go to the grocery store, you might be talking to somebody, the checkout person. Just mentioned if you're looking for a job or a job field, you know, work on that elevator speech to make it feel comfortable. You're mentioning your background and stuff in practice before you. Networking, that's not the same as asking for a job. The people you're talking to aren't going to be employers, so they're not going to be able to offer you a job anyway. So, but you're just sort of out there exploring what's out there. And it's also, even if you have a job, it's good for your own professional and personal development. Talking and meeting with people, it's good for it's good for you. I think to sort of reach out to people and interact. It's definitely good for your professional background. So once again, if you can tap into this network, sometimes employers are not hiring today, but who knows? Maybe a job will open up, and you know your face will pop up in their brain when they're thinking of it. To talk to them, and you might be contacted later. So it might be helpful to have something like business cards with you that you can hand out. Easy way for someone to tap in and remember you and stuff instead of just handing them a resume. So that's another piece of marketing. And then when you meet somebody, you might want to ask for names of other people that you can meet with. Maybe say, oh, do you know anybody in a specific industry in the library world? Do you know any librarians or anything? And sort of tap in and maybe expand it that way. Third session in this set of programs are doing, the fourth one is on informational interview, and he'll go into a lot more detail on how to go about people and getting out there. And then networking is a give and take. So when you meet somebody, just say, you know, I doing it. So sort of ask yourself, assume that you're able to help somebody and be remembered that way as well. Reach out to colleagues, clients, alumni, friends of friends, family members, neighbors, anyone in your community that I talked with before. With the pandemic, online networking is very important. I mentioned LinkedIn before. LinkedIn is mostly helpful for professional careers, but it's also a way to tap into people maybe you went to school with. It's similar to Facebook, but it's on a more professional level. So if you're not on LinkedIn, I would recommend doing that. And then check your other social networking sites as well, because your employer is likely to check them. So Facebook, things like that. You can use Facebook groups. There's groups on Facebook to tap into people you might not know. Send your email out, and you can Zoom and meet with people and network with them that way. And then set up informational interviews. As I mentioned before, we're having a whole program on that. I highly recommend that. It's very good to learn about career fields and then find about the possible openings in those career fields. LinkedIn, let's get back to LinkedIn for a while. It's the default professional networking site. As I mentioned, you can connect with friends, colleagues, industry leaders, recruiters. Recruiters are often using that. So if you keep your profile up to date, you can let the recruiters find you as well. So that can be helpful. And then there's connectors on LinkedIn too. These are people who connect with a lot of different people who are constantly interacting with people. I have a friend who's a salesman who's very good at meeting people and knows people in various different professions. So whenever I'm looking for something, looking for someone, I can ask him. He's usually tapped into somebody, set up an introduction for me as well. I mentioned recruiters and hiring managers finding you. And then I also mentioned it controls the information that's out there about you. So if you fill in your profile, that's what people are going to see. And at a minimum, you should at least know about LinkedIn and maybe set a profile up for yourself. Profile is similar to a resume, only it's a little more generic. I mentioned that you should customize your resume every time you send it out, but a profile, you can't really do that. So you have the right keywords for the positions you're going for, and make it a little more generic. So I talked about creating a professional profile with your industry keywords. Good to have a good headline that sort of summarizes you. That's kind of like your elevator speech, summary of your background with a nice professional photo, because people tend to be visual and remember photos, and so that can be nice as well. You can also on LinkedIn, you can follow companies and other organizations that you're interested in. You can also find people that work at these various organizations and companies as well, or who have worked at organizations. So if you do a search for a specific company that you're interested in, find people that have worked there in the past. You're connected to them in some way, or you're connected to them. So you can get an introduction to someone. So you might be able to tap in to learn more about the company, get news, and maybe get insight and information on jobs there. There's also a lot of groups on LinkedIn. You can join these groups. There's hundreds of library groups on there, for instance. There's also groups related to location, or even some fun groups like playing a guitar. That's one group that I belong to on LinkedIn, because I play guitar, not very well, but I play guitar. But it's a way to meet new people, another way to branch, and I can talk about the issue within the group, and then I can also mention, by the way, I am looking. You can post updates and share articles, sort of promote you in your profession, sort of makes you seem a little more with it and sort of on top of the different issues in your profession. So that can be helpful. You can like and comment on your connections as well. So you're sort of staying linked to them. That's the name, LinkedIn. And I mentioned there's a search function in there to find individual people that work at different companies or in different industries. So this is my LinkedIn profile. Beautiful face, so you can see that, and it's a summary of what you have. And then I mentioned companies that are on LinkedIn as well. Skokie Library has a presence on here. You can view a link to the website. You can find the people that work there, or any company really, because virtually every company has a LinkedIn profile. And oftentimes they'll even post the jobs on here as well. So all in one place. Another thing I'd just like to talk about, you might want to think about when you're getting out there, mostly regarding networking, but also when you put your marketing material together, is personal branding. And this is sort of comes out of the book Think and Grow Rich, an old book from 1937. But it's sort of thinking of yourself as a brand. So what do you bring to the job search? How do you portray that to a potential employer? So it might be something you might want to think about. So you use basic techniques based on marketing and advertising to display your assets. Another theme in this too is to create a story about yourself. What is your story and how do you sell that? Because people tend to be story driven and they remember things like that. Instead of just bullet pointing things out in your resume, you might want to create a story about the different elements of who you are and what you have to offer. It can be a little tricky, but if you play around with it, it might make you more memorable to an employer and make you stand out. So it might be something worth thinking about. And here I'm mentioning again, prepare a story regarding your career path and who you are. Makes you seem more memorable, trustworthy, and authentic. It can. These are 10 golden rules. This comes from an article from Forbes, but be focused regarding your branding, your personal, your steps towards personal branding. So be focused, be genuine, tell a story, as I mentioned, be consistent. So be consistent across like all your different Facebook pages, your resume, things like that. When you talk to people, to be consistent. So something like you're a reliable person. So sort of emphasize that somehow, and if that's something that you want to emphasize regarding. Be ready to fail, create a positive impact, follow a successful example. If there's someone you admire out there that you can pick certain things that you like about that person, and then that's something you can emphasize or strive towards as well. Live your brand, doing what you think is right, and so let other people help tell your story. You know, networking out there, people help you find stuff. If you're future oriented, you know, leave a legacy behind you. So you're not just thinking about yourself, you're thinking about how to benefit the whole profession. I have this video, which I'm not going to show you, but I will post this, be able to access this PowerPoint if you want to watch this video, the whole thing on branding yourself. Then the last element of a focused job search is interviewing and following up, researching a company and an industry. Glassdoor.com is a great place to get some information on perhaps interviewing in a company. Some people post their interview questions on there for larger companies. Libraries can also help you research companies and industries that help. If you can't find anything, talk to your librarian. There's reference librarians out there that can help you. I talked before about reviewing the job posting, but this way is make sure you're dealing with everything they're asking for in that job posting, so you address that and you can respond to that in an interview. That's always a lot of interviewing. Almost all interviewing is online now. So do you have the equipment and the software, and do you feel comfortable using it? That's helpful as well. I messed up here today even doing this, and I use it all the time. So it's a good thing to get comfortable in using it. So make sure you go over those interview questions, hold mock interviews, and make sure these interviews roll off your tongue. You know, think of the branding element. Are you portraying that when you answer these interview questions? Does it sound consistent? Sound when you're answering these questions? So that's always helpful. I don't think you can practice enough these interview questions. And you can always work your answers in. Even if they ask another question, you can sort of switch it around like a politician does and answer it the way that you practice. So that can be as well. And then send thank you emails to everyone involved. So anybody you met with at the company or you talked with, you get their names and their emails. That's great. And then send them an email to thank them. And also when you do this, it's another way to find a little bit more information about what's going on regarding the job search process. Or you can market yourself again. Maybe you can say, well, I didn't mention this in an interview, but I do have this in my background as well. So it's another way to reach out to people. Then take care of yourself. Look after yourself. Job searching is incredibly stressful. It's a series of rejections. That's how I look at it. Oftentimes you're rejected, you don't know why you're rejected. So you just create these scenarios in your head regarding things that you're worried about. But take it easy on yourself. People get rejected all the time in job searching. You're not alone. Maybe attend one of these job support groups, like we have the job talk group at our library, talk it out with people or to meet with somebody. Reach out to friends and family that are helpful and that can emotionally support you. So sometimes family might not be the best people to reach out to, but hopefully your family is good and they can help you out. So try and build a network that way. And then be kind to your body too. If you can exercise, stretch, get off the couch a little bit, walk around the neighborhood, think of it as have it on your list of things to do. And then it's a networking. See somebody out there that you know or that you can talk to as well. So last thoughts. Hiring process today, it's likely to take longer than it did before. There's more people responding to ads. So, and it's definitely different than it used to be before because you'll be doing a lot more online interviews, things like that. I'd be patient and kind to everyone, communicate with. You don't know what they're going through. In life in general, that's probably a good thought. Who knows what people are going through? I just don't know. So, and then thank everyone who's helped you with your job search. So it leaves a good impression and people remember you. And thank you for attending today. This is the first session in Navigating the Job Search. My name is Mike Buhmann. Here's my email if you want to get in touch with me. Feel free to email me. I mentioned we have one-on-one support. If you need that, you can contact us. We have availability. We have volunteers in the libraries as well involved in this. We have a number of sponsoring libraries: Evanston, Niles, Glen Wilmette, Morton Grove, and Lincolnwood. They all have job resources to help out as well. So give them a call. Libraries are great places, great community resource. So we have upcoming workshops. The next one is resumes and marketing material next Thursday, January 28th, and informational interviewing. And then finally, interviewing in the virtual age. So those are workshops coming up free at that time. And any questions, let me know. Please chat something in.
All right, so going back a little bit, what percentage of job seekers' time should be used to network versus applying for jobs directly?
But the percentage, well, it's hard to give an exact percentage, but I'm sure most people that I meet spend much less time on networking. I mean, really, I would say like 70% of your time should be spent networking. And then doing other things like getting your marketing materials together. But really, networking is the key, you know. So, but you need your marketing material for you. You need to have that elevator speak so it comes off fluently when you talk to people. It's nice to have some sort of plan to in your networking as well. So those are all aspects of networking though too. So not just actual talking to people. So, but 70%, that sounds good. I don't know. That's probably what I would do if I were doing it. So.
All right, and then how many connections should people try to have on LinkedIn to make a helpful networking tool?
Well, you know, there's all different philosophies regarding connections on LinkedIn. Some people try to connect with as many people as they possibly can. Some people just connect with a few people that they know really well, and their networking group is really works well for them. So I sort of have a middle philosophy where I connect with people, my colleagues, people I know pretty well, and then people in my profession, maybe people that I aspire to know better. So yeah, I mean, the key is using your network, you know, if you can, and then using your network connections for the connections, making sure they'd be able to link you up with somebody. I don't think there's any definitive answer on that either, you know. But, you know, using your connections and reaching out and targeting, maybe sending articles in there to sort of push your profession with people. So, yeah.
All right, then there's another one. This one's like 3 questions in one, so I'll just read them all together. What are your thoughts on cover letters? Any advice on how best to avoid ageism? And is it best to list last 5 jobs, or should you provide jobs dating back only 7, 10, or 15 years?
Well, yeah, it's generally thought like 10 years is good for your, as far as having jobs. I didn't get all of that, Lena, but I'll answer the 2 that I've heard, and then if I missed one, I mean, 10 years going back is usually good, but that's dependent too on your background. I mean, I've worked in my job for 20 years. If I were looking for a new job, well, maybe I would just put the 1 job going back, but it would have to be 20 years where I've worked here. So if there's something, another thing that people do is they have a functional resume where you put your actual skills in your job, you know, what you've done in the last year, maybe not attached to a specific employer, because you even switched around at an employer. You've done different positions there. So you can put the functional things that you did. And then at the bottom, you could just put a list of your employers and the years that you worked there without any bullet points in that. So you can, you know, your actual job titles that way. There's a number of ways around it. So you can look up functional resumes to play around with it.
Then to hide ageism, a functional resume can be helpful for that as well. There is definitely ageism out there. I know a lot of people have talked about either losing jobs because of their age or having a real difficult time finding jobs because you're older. I believe them. They seem like credible reports. So it's just something you maybe find companies as well that benefit experience more than, youthful vim and vigor. There's definitely older workers tend to bring continuity. If you're a woman, you're not likely to get pregnant, leave the job, things like that. Tend to be more reliable. You don't have to worry about your kids, things like that. So there's a lot of benefits to being older as well. You bring a lot of lifetime experience. One important thing is to make sure you're technically savvy, because I think that's sort of a stereotype for older workers that people tend to think they don't know technology. So if you can really bone up on technology, make sure you understand everything, that can be helpful. Cover everything, Lynn, on that?
What are your thoughts on cover letters?
Cover letters? Well, it's an important aspect of the job search. I think it's always good to if someone asks for your resume, I feel you should always attach a cover letter. It's another place to market who you are and why you're a good fit for that company. So it's easier to write in complete sentences. I talked about having that story element. You might be able to bring things together in your resume to a story with a cover letter. So I think it's pretty important. So anytime you can market yourself, it's important. So it's another marketing tool. So it highlights your writing skills as well. Hopefully everybody has writing skills, but if you don't, make sure someone goes over it and make sure it sounds right. Good. Once again, that's something we can do at libraries. Somebody called in with a resume saying he needed help. He had a master's degree and everything. I forgot where he was from, but another country that English wasn't his first language, and his English was all needed work. So that's something that was easy for someone to clean up. And then once that was cleaned up, great. So these are things to think about.
All right, we probably have time for one more question. The next question down is, how many questions should an applicant develop in advance from research about the employer for possible use during the interview?
Well, yeah. I don't think there's any definitive answer. You should definitely have a few, maybe 3 or so. Maybe intersperse them within the interview. That's a good idea. Question. I don't know if something spurs you when you're talking to them, will answer. It shows your interest in the company and you're paying attention as well. So in the interview. And then it also allows the person to talk to, and sort of maybe eases the tension a little bit so that you're not doing all the talking in an interview. So it gives you some control as well. So it's sort of a back and forth. So that's kind of cool. So maybe add something personal too, well, it's tricky now, but maybe you'll see something in the background like this when you're interviewing online or something. You can ask about that, sort of cool things down, and bring a personal element into it. So that might be helpful. Hopefully that answered it. Well, I guess it's 4 o'clock, and thanks everybody for coming. Once again, my name is Mike Buhmann. You'll be able to find this information. I'm at Skokie Library. If you need to get in touch with me, always call the library. Thank you for coming, everybody, and best of luck in a job search. So.
Thanks for coming, everybody.